God already knew that the Old Testament and the Mosaic law was a shadow of Christ and a shadow of things to come. He already knew that that wasn't going to keep them, that wasn't going to hold them. It just was to expose their sin. But he knew that it would be one that would be their atonement or their go-between, their propitiation for sin. So what he done that was so powerful, when you read scripture, Moses almost got to the promised land and he didn't get there. And God said, I'll let you see it, but I'm not let you going to enter in, aka I don't want to enter into the promised land, which is another version or a type of shadow of heaven. You're not going to enter into heaven with the old covenant. You're going to enter into heaven with this new covenant, a new promise. Powerful thing about it, the one that brought the people into the new covenant or brought them into the promised land, aka Canaan. In Numbers 13, verse 8, his name was Hoshea. But then in verse 16, God has Moses to name him Jehoshua, which means Yahweh is salvation. Now, I've taught this before, but when you flip that and bring it into the Greek, we get the word Isis in Isis. Then when you change it into English, you get your word Jesus. So it already shows us in the Old Testament that Moses brought on Hoshea salvation, and God had Hoshea name to be changed to Joshua. Yahweh is salvation, which also is the word Jesus, to say Jesus was going to bring them into the Canaan, bring them into the promised land, which means he's going to be a better covenant that brings them into heaven. So the thing that's so powerful about that, even in the Old Testament, there was types of shadows of Christ, and down to the people's name to let you see it. So when we come into the New Testament, it's not a mistake and not a coincidence that there's a Jesus here, because there was a Jesus that they were following in the Old Testament. What's so powerful about this is that once all this comes into play, all the showing that was done in the Old Testament of new covenant, of blood had to be done, bread had to be taken. Now Christ comes onto the scene and he says, I'm going to solidify this. Let's see this in scripture.